Hi, this is my guide, and it's a senior's guide to e-bike buying. My name is Brian Hill, and I'm going to show you the summary of all of my tips for buying an e-bike in the description at the bottom of the video, so check that out. But let's start with my tip number one. You may have ridden and you may have seen people leaning forward looking cool on their bikes. I prefer a bike that is called the cruiser style, where you actually sit upright. I have back problems, so what I really like is I can sit on the bike, no pressure on my back, no pressure on my wrists. When you lean over on a bike, you're extending your hands way down here. It stresses the back, stresses the wrists, so I like that. Being eliminated with the cruiser style bike, which has another big benefit. And that's tip number two, which is the steps through style. When you get off the bike, you just step through it. This is considered to be a male or female bike, and it's called the step through. You can see that the ability to raise your knee up to this height is much, much different than swinging your leg way up over the seat. And I couldn't do that anymore on my motorcycle, and so I realized I didn't want to do that on my bicycle either.
The number one question I'm asked about e-bikes is, do you have to use the battery and the motor all the time? The answer is no. I only use the motor about half of the time. As I ride and I pedal along, I can turn on the power when I need it. And then quite often, about half the time, I turn the power off and it acts as a regular bike with me pedaling along, and I get more exercise.
Tip number three is the twist grip. That's easy changing of the gears by simply going and twisting your wrist. There are other options, but I prefer the twist grip. For example, in this particular configuration, you change gears by pushing this button or pulling on the lever to change. And it's a pretty simple operation, but I prefer the twist grip. Tip number four is the number of gears. And the number of gears I recommend is 6. I've had bikes with 26 gears or more, and really because of the electric motor that's inside, you're only going to use 1 or 2, usually the lower level of gears and the very highest level of gears, and so 6 is fine. Tip number 5 is the size of the motor. The smallest size you're going to find is about a 250 watt motor. And that's fine. I have a very steep driveway, and I find that this 250 watt motor can get me up and out of the driveway just fine. It can handle moderate to fairly steep hills. If you're looking for something for extreme hills, you could switch to a 500 watt bike. And if you're really wanting to, well, go over the top, you could get a 1,000 watt bike, and I've ridden them, and I find that they're excessive, let's put it that way. Number 6, the type of brakes. I find the caliper brake is easiest. Now this is a caliper brake, and you'll notice here that it has a pad that goes up against the side of the wheel, and it's the easiest to adjust, it's the easiest to replace. If you're a senior, you probably are familiar with the caliper brake. This is the disc brake. I find them harder to adjust, harder to prevent from squeaking, although they're cool, and on most of the newer bikes, there's nothing particularly difficult about adjusting them. They just always seem to have a little squeak. 7 is a chain guard guide. You can see it right here. This piece of plastic, the chain slips through it, and I found that easy to install and relatively easy to adjust so that it keeps your chain from falling off. You may never have that problem. In fact, if there's a big enough ridge here, that tends to prevent the chain from coming off. On e-bikes, there's something called a thumb throttle. Let me show you. Place your hand on the handlebars, and you can accelerate the bike using your thumb. I like the Instant On because there's no need to put the power level on. Turn the entire bike from off to on to get a little boost by using the throttle. Just tap it with your thumb. Number 9 is, do you buy online or from a local store? Now, I found buying online to be relatively inexpensive and pretty easy to assemble. You just take the front wheel and attach it. It has a quick on and off lever. And then you put the handlebars in. All the wiring is already set up. All the brakes are already set up. You just slip the handlebars in. Now, for seniors, you may find buying a bike from your local bike shop to be the best. You'll pay a little bit more, but you'll be able to take it back for any tuning and adjustments that may be needed, and that's always a big factor. Of course, they're going to assemble it all for you. Tip number 10 is a luggage rack, and this particular bike came with a luggage rack included. I also stuck a bag onto the back to make it useful, so everyday activities could give me some exercise. In fact, both of these bikes have luggage racks and a little bag on the back, which I added extra. Your bike may also come with a headlight. That's a nice feature, but it's not necessary, mandatory. I tend to shy away from riding my bike at night. Number 11 is the water bottle, and I like to have a water bottle bag high up on the handlebars, so you don't have to take your eyes off the road to get at the water. And you'll find many have the actual water bottle attached down here on the frame. You have to take your eyes off the road to get it. It's down by your knees, not particularly safe. I also like a squeezable water bottle so you can get that water out quickly. Tip number 12 is charging with the battery in the frame. I really like this. You put in the plug for the power here. You keep the battery in the frame. You don't have to remove it, which is very nice. It just charges away. Has a couple little indicators here to tell you how full the battery is. You can remove the battery, but it's nice when you can charge it in the frame and you don't have to take it in and out. I ride with the key inside this because I take this in and out so often. You just have to twist it, and then you lift out the heavy battery and you can take it into the house. You can charge it wherever you'd like. And then each time that you use the bike, you have to take it back. You have to put the battery into the frame, and it snaps back into place. A little more convenient to not have to do that. But it's nice to have the option to charge indoors. Both these styles offer you the ability to take your battery inside. You can see here's the key area for the removing of the battery. And if you don't have a garage with an electrical outlet in it, you can take it inside the house to the bedroom, the living room, the dining room, any place where there's a handy electrical outlet, and then bring the battery outside again when you're ready to go biking. You may wonder which bike style I like best. And I have to tell you, the GoTrax has that sort of dirt bike look, fatter tires, and it's not my favorite. I prefer the hyper bike, both for price and for the fact that it has great rolling lack of friction. So it's much easier to ride. You shut off the battery, want to get some exercise, no problem. You can do that, and it rolls along very efficiently. It's a wonderful regular bike, even when you have the motor shut off. The GoTrax, you're working hard when you shut that engine off, and it tends to encourage you to use the motor too much, and you don't get as much exercise. So GoTrax is good. That off-road look, although they recommend that you don't ride it off-road because it's an e-bike. And the blue bike is a Walmart special bike. Only Walmart online, about $799. Black Friday price, about $399. The GoTrax is up there close to $1,000. Pretty amazing when you consider you can find $2,000 bikes, $5,000 bikes, and if you're a senior on a fixed income, these are pretty good options for you right here. Look for my other videos. One is a senior's guide to accessories for e-bikes, and I also have a senior's guide for assembling an e-bike, an example of what that's like. Down below, I have some links to these products, so you can actually just click on them to purchase. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing.